Everything you have been taught about discipline is a biological lie. You do not lack willpower and you are not lazy. Your nervous system is simply reacting to friction. Today, I will show you the exact environmental architecture to make focus your default state with zero motivation required. Think about your typical day. You wake up at 7 in the morning, look in the mirror, and promise yourself that today is the day you are going to grind. You rely on sheer willpower, but by 4 in the afternoon, you are exhausted, lying on your bed, scrolling through your phone for 45 minutes, feeling a familiar wave of guilt. You tell yourself you are weak. You tell yourself you do not have what it takes to succeed. You are not weak. Willpower is not a muscle, it is a battery. Every single time you resist checking your notifications, every time you force yourself to stare at a blank screen, you drain that battery. By the time you actually need to do the deep, meaningful work, the battery is completely dead. The self-help industry sold you the idea that successful people have infinite discipline. They do not. They just use significantly less of it than you do. They do not wake up and fight a war against their own brains every 24 hours. They understand a fundamental truth about human psychology that you have been ignoring. Your brain is an energy conservation machine. It is designed to take the path of least resistance. When you try to force it to do hard things through pure discipline, you are fighting millions of years of evolution. And evolution always wins. If you have been trying to build a new habit for 3 months and you keep failing, the problem is not your character. The problem is that you are treating willpower like an infinite resource. You wake up every day with a finite amount of cognitive energy. Every decision you make, from what to eat for breakfast to what you wear, chips away at that energy. So when you finally sit down to work on your business after an 8-hour shift, your prefrontal cortex is completely depleted. You feel the urge to stop working after 10 minutes because your brain is trying to save you from burning out. It is a biological safety mechanism, yet you punish yourself for it. You carry the weight of unmet expectations for years thinking you are the problem. We need to stop trying to fix you because you are not broken. We need to fix the system around you. Let us look closely at what is actually happening inside your skull right now. Your brain operates on a very simple but incredibly powerful algorithm. It constantly calculates the amount of dopamine it expects to receive, divided by the amount of physical or cognitive effort required to get it. You must understand that your brain is an evolutionary survival machine. For hundreds of thousands of years, its primary job was to keep you alive by conserving calories and avoiding unnecessary danger. It is beautifully and perfectly designed to do exactly that. When you sit down at your desk to work on your new business, write a difficult script, or study for a complex exam, your prefrontal cortex evaluates the situation. It sees high cognitive effort. It sees a delayed reward that might take weeks, months, or even years to actually arrive. But right next to your keyboard is your smartphone. It is a small rectangle of glass explicitly engineered by the smartest minds on the planet to deliver instant hits of dopamine with absolutely zero physical effort. So your brain runs the survival algorithm. Hard work equals very high effort and extremely low immediate dopamine. Scrolling through short videos on your phone equals zero effort and massive immediate dopamine. Your brain makes the logical choice based on its ancient programming. Your brain is not broken, it is not defective, and you are not inherently a lazy person. Your biological machinery is functioning perfectly. It is simply choosing the path of least resistance to conserve your energy. This brings us to the single most important concept you will learn today. The invisible force standing between you and the life you desperately want to build is not a lack of ambition, it is friction. Friction is any step, no matter how ridiculously small, that stands between you and the action you need to take. Friction is the 3 seconds it takes to open a new application on your computer. Friction is the disorganized clutter scattered across your desk. Friction is having to search through folders for the right document before you can even begin typing a single word. Every single microsecond of friction acts as a barrier to your success. And because your brain is constantly scanning your physical environment for the easiest possible path, even the smallest amount of friction is enough to derail your focus entirely. If your phone is sitting face up on the table, the friction to pick it up and check it is practically zero. Your brain will automatically gravitate toward it every single time you face a difficult or frustrating problem in your work. If we want to fundamentally change your daily behavior and completely cure this ambitious paralysis, we have absolutely got to stop relying on changing your internal mindset. Mindsets are fragile things. They break the moment you feel tired, hungry, or stressed out. Instead, we have to ruthlessly manipulate the physical and digital friction in your environment. We must make the bad habits impossibly hard to access and the good habits incredibly easy to start. You have to stop trying to force yourself to be a disciplined person and start engineering a space where discipline is simply no longer required. Stop trying to build discipline. Start building your environment instead. This is the concept of environmental architecture, and it is the exact framework that will replace your desperate need for willpower. Your physical and digital spaces dictate your daily behavior far more than your internal desires ever could. If you want to stop eating junk food, you do not sit at your kitchen table staring at a donut and use pure mental discipline to resist it. You throw the donut in the trash so it is no longer an option. We need to apply this exact same brutal practicality to your professional work and your daily habits. Right now, your environment is perfectly designed for you to fail. Your default mode is distraction. We need to flip the architecture so that the path of least resistance leads directly to your most important work. Human beings are exactly like water. We will always flow down the path that requires the absolute least amount of energy. If the easiest thing to do in your room is to lie down and play video games, that is exactly what your brain will choose. To fix this, you must understand a neurological concept called context-dependent memory. Your brain maps specific behaviors to specific physical locations. When you sit on your bed, your brain begins to release melatonin because it naturally associates that soft space with sleep and rest. When you try to work on your laptop while sitting in bed, you are forcing your brain to fight its own chemical signals. You must separate your spaces. You need a dedicated physical location where the only activity that ever happens is focused work. It does not need to be a fancy corporate office. It can be a specific corner of your dining table or a tiny desk in your bedroom. But when you sit in that exact chair, you do absolutely nothing else. You do not eat there. You do not watch entertainment there. You do not scroll on your phone there. After a few short weeks, your brain will build a powerful new neurological association. The moment you sit in that specific chair, your brain will automatically trigger a state of focus without you having to force it or negotiate with yourself. But fixing your physical space is only half the battle. Your digital environment is infinitely more dangerous. Your computer and your phone are vast digital landscapes designed specifically to trap your attention. You cannot rely on discipline to navigate a minefield safely. You have to clear the mind. This means treating your digital workspace with military strictness. Let us go deeper into your digital space. Every single notification that pops up on your screen is an external trigger that hijacks your amygdala. It forces your brain to immediately shift its attention away from your deep work and toward a potential threat or reward. It takes an average of 23 minutes to regain your full state of flow after a single interruption. If you receive just 3 notifications in an hour, you have effectively destroyed your entire productive session. You must turn off every single non-essential alert on your devices. Your phone should permanently be on silent mode, and ideally it should be physically located in a completely different room while you are doing deep work. If it is resting in your pocket or face down on your desk, your brain is still dedicating background processing power to the possibility that it might vibrate. Furthermore, consider the visual clutter on your computer desktop. Every single useless file or folder you see on your screen represents a tiny cognitive load. It is a microscopic drain on your daily willpower battery. You must organize your digital files with the same ruthless efficiency that you use to organize your physical room. Your web browser should not have 30 tabs open from yesterday. You need to install website blockers that automatically shut down your access to social media during your scheduled work hours. You are not locking yourself in a digital prison. You are building a psychological fortress to protect your attention from an entire global industry of engineers designed to steal it. Think about the friction of starting a new project. If you want to write a book, but your desk is covered in old coffee cups and unpaid bills, and your laptop battery is dead, the friction to start writing is massive. You have to clean the desk, find the charger, plug it in, wait for the machine to boot up, and search for your document. Your brain looks at that massive mountain of effort and chooses to watch a video instead. You must eliminate this friction entirely. Before you go to sleep tonight, clear the desk, plug in the laptop, open the exact document you need to work on tomorrow. When you wake up the next morning, the physical environment is pristine. The digital environment is already waiting for you. The absolute easiest thing you can do, the true path of least resistance, is to simply sit down and start typing. You have engineered a space where it actually takes more cognitive effort to avoid your work than it does to simply do it. This is how you beat ambitious paralysis. Not by being stronger, but by being smarter. Here is the practical framework you are going to implement today. It is called the 20-second rule, and it is going to completely rewire how you interact with your daily temptations. Up until this point in your life, you have been told that to break a bad habit, you need to exercise immense self-control. You have been told to simply say no when you feel a craving. But as we have already established, your prefrontal cortex gets exhausted. Your willpower battery drains rapidly. So instead of fighting your biological urge to be lazy, we are going to do something entirely different. We are going to weaponize your laziness. Your brain operates on a very strict threshold of convenience. Neurological studies and behavioral psychology show that if an impulse takes more than 20 seconds of physical or cognitive friction to execute, the human brain will often abandon the impulse entirely. The immediate desire for a quick dopamine hit is incredibly strong, but it is also incredibly fragile. It relies heavily on instant gratification. If you delay that gratification by just 20 seconds, the logical part of your brain has enough time to step in, evaluate the situation, and override the primitive urge. So instead of trying to miraculously cure your social media addiction or your endless procrastination through pure discipline, you are going to make those bad habits incredibly annoying to access. You are going to add 20 seconds of pure agonizing friction to every single digital distraction in your life. Right now, I want you to log out of all your social media accounts on your computer and your phone. Completely delete the automatically saved passwords from your internet browser. If you feel the urge to scroll through short videos, you are entirely allowed to do so. But you have to manually open the application, manually type in your long email address, manually type in your complex password, and then wait for the two-factor authentication text message to arrive on your device. By the time you go through all of that effort, something magical happens. Your brain, which is inherently designed to conserve energy at all costs, looks at that tedious process and decides that the dopamine hit is simply not worth the physical and mental effort. You will literally become too lazy to engage in your bad habits. If your video game console is unplugged and stored inside a closet, the sheer thought of standing up, walking across the room, taking it out, plugging it into the wall, and waiting for it to boot up is often enough to extinguish the craving entirely. You are using your own procrastination against itself. You are making your destructive behavior so inconvenient that ignoring them becomes the absolute path of least resistance. Now, we must apply the exact opposite mathematical equation to your positive habits. You must aggressively subtract 20 seconds of friction from the things you actually want to achieve. If your goal is to go for a run at 6 in the morning, do not wait until you wake up to find your running shoes. Locate your socks and look for your headphones. When your alarm rings at 6 in the morning, your cognitive energy is at its absolute lowest point. Any minor inconvenience, like not knowing where your shirt is, will convince you to stay in bed. If you want to write a manuscript or build a website, the software application must be open and waiting for you on your computer monitor before you go to sleep tonight. Your desk must be completely clear of any visual distractions. Your water bottle should already be filled and sitting right next to your keyboard. You are essentially setting up a behavioral trap for your future self, but it is a positive trap. When you wake up and sit down at your desk, the easiest, most frictionless action you can possibly take is to simply begin working. You are no longer relying on a sudden, magical burst of motivation to get you through the morning. You are relying on the environmental architecture you built the night before. By strategically adding 20 seconds of friction to the things that destroy your focus and violently removing 20 seconds of friction from the things that build your future, you completely remove willpower from the equation. You stop being a helpless victim of your own biology, and you finally become the master architect of your own behavior. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and not having to fight a psychological war with yourself just to get out of bed. Imagine walking over to your desk, sitting down, and immediately entering a state of deep, uninterrupted focus without needing to watch a motivational video or listen to a podcast to hype yourself up. This is what your life looks like when you finally stop relying on the scam of willpower and start relying on intelligent environmental architecture. For years, you have carried the heavy burden of guilt. You believed that your inability to stay consistent was a fundamental character flaw. You thought that if you just tried harder, or if you just wanted it badly enough, you would magically transform into a highly disciplined machine. But now you know the absolute scientific truth. You were simply fighting against an ancient biological algorithm designed to conserve energy. You were trying to use a finite daily battery to power an entire lifetime of ambition. The highest possible form of freedom is not having an iron will. It is living in a meticulously designed system that simply does not require one. When your physical space triggers focus automatically and your digital space blocks distraction ruthlessly, success is no longer a painful daily struggle. Doing the hard work literally becomes your default mode. The era of self-punishment, endless guilt, and broken promises ends today. So here's your final instruction. Do not save this video to a playlist to watch again later. Do not scroll down to the comment section. Do not click on another productivity tutorial. I want you to close this application immediately. Stand up, walk across the room, and change exactly one piece of friction in your physical or digital environment right now. Unplug the gaming console, move your cellular phone to a completely different room, or clear every single item off your workspace. Stop trying to be a stronger person. Start being a smarter architect. Build your fortress right now.